For years, we've all been told that the key to a great interview is just having the right tips and tricks. But what if that whole approach is, well, just wrong? We're going to dig into why the real secret to success isn't about some last-minute advice, but about building a powerful system from the one thing you already have, your own experience.
You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You prepared, you practiced, you know all the advice by heart. But the second a tough question comes your way, your mind just goes blank. So why does that happen? Why do these tips that sound so good on paper just seem to vanish when the pressure is really on?
It's a totally universal feeling, and listen, it is not your fault. To get to the bottom of it, we first have to understand why traditional interview tips are actually so fragile to begin with.
I mean, look at this list. It's like the greatest hits of interview advice, isn't it? Use the STAR method, slow down, have your examples ready. We've heard them all 1,000 times, and they sound fantastic in theory, but there's this huge gap between knowing the tip and actually being able to use it in the moment. This right here perfectly captures the problem. The advice says, just organize your thoughts calmly. But the reality? Our brain feels completely overloaded. And that's when we start to ramble, or we give a brilliant answer to the wrong question, or worse, we forget all the amazing examples we know we have. And here's the bottom line. Tips just aren't designed to survive under pressure. They force your brain to try and invent an answer, organize it, and articulate it all at the same time. And that's something our brains are just not built to do effectively when we're stressed out.
So, why does this breakdown happen? Well, there's a pretty simple psychological reason, and it all comes down to how our brain functions when it feels the heat.
Think about it for a second. In an interview, you're trying to listen to the question, search your entire memory for the perfect experience, then structure that into a compelling story, and deliver it confidently. That is a massive amount of mental work to do on the fly.
This brings us to a really key concept called cognitive load. See, when the mental effort you need is more than your brain's capacity, you hit overload. And that is the brain blank moment. Tips fail because they actually add to this load instead of reducing it.
Okay, so if tips are the problem, what's the solution? This is where we need to make a really fundamental shift in our approach, away from fragile advice and towards something much more robust, a system.
And this question really changes everything. Instead of looking for another trick, what if we focused on building a system? A pre-built structure that actually works for us, not against us, when the pressure kicks in.
And here's the difference in a nutshell. Tips force you to improvise from scratch every single time. A system, on the other hand, is built way ahead of time. It's based on real preparation, which makes it strong and reliable, especially when it matters the most.
So, what does this system actually look like? Well, the core idea is to start treating your experience not as just a random collection of memories, but as a story deck.
A story deck is basically your own personal library of your most important career moments. But it's not just a list, it's a structured inventory that frames your experiences as concrete proof of how you really operate. Imagine your key career stories are like a deck of cards. With a system, they're not just floating around randomly in your memory anymore. They become organized, clear, and ready for you to pull out at a moment's notice.
This is probably the most important shift in mindset. Your past challenges, your successes, those tough conversations you had, these aren't just anecdotes, they're data points. They are hard evidence of your capabilities. And you know, when you organize these stories, you start to see these clear behavioral patterns emerge. You can actually see how you handle conflict, or make decisions under pressure, or influence people. And these are the things employers are really trying to understand. The logic here flows really nicely. Your core identity, who you are, shapes your behavior. That behavior, in turn, generates your stories. And when you organize them, those stories send a really clear signal to the world about who you are and what you can do. So, what's the ultimate payoff for building a system like this? It's not just about being prepared. It's about fundamentally changing how you feel in these high-stakes moments. It's about finding real confidence that comes from clarity. When your experience is structured like this, the whole dynamic shifts. You're no longer frantically searching for an answer. Instead, you're calmly selecting the perfect story, the right card, from a deck you already know inside and out. That cognitive load we talked about, it just plummets.
And maybe the best part of all this, a story deck isn't just a trick for your next interview. It's a lifelong asset. You can use it in performance reviews, in talks about promotions, and for your own leadership development. It's a tool for career-long clarity.
So, the big takeaway is this. It's time to move beyond those fragile tips. Stop trying to improvise under pressure and start communicating from a system of your own stories, a system that is authentic, powerful, and honestly, already inside you.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. If you were to start building your own deck today, what powerful stories are just waiting in there to be told?